nobody is coming to fix your life. No one. You can spend hours and hours and hours in a therapist chair blaming your mother or your father, or you can ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? If you want to create a better life, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to prove it. It is a daily battle that you are choosing to engage in for the sake of building a life that really creates meaning for you. The biggest breakthrough in your life and in your business will happen when you learn how to have that relationship with yourself.
I am so delighted to have Mel Robbins here today. Incredible thought leader, podcast host, author, all around amazing person to follow on Instagram. Welcome. I'm just so delighted you're here.
Well, thank you. And you're the first conversation I'm having on my brand new podcast set here.
Well, it looks fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I did your amazing workshop, which we're finishing up the launch, and it was an incredible experience. And each of us, you can tell us a little about what are people doing on the workshop. I can give you my perspective, but you tell us first.
So the workshop that you did with me is called Launch, and coming out of what has been a tumultuous couple of years, in the spring of 2022, I decided that I wanted to create a coaching experience that had a very robust community of people in it who felt the need to launch their lives or careers or businesses forward. And so we created this program. We had never done this program before. It was 5 months long. It began with 5 intensive weeks of daily coaching that was focused on the very boring and tedious topic of habits and systems and behavior changes and self-awareness, because that's the building blocks for changing anything. Like if you want to know the way that your life is going to look 5 years from now, take a look at how you spend your day today, because the simple habits and actions and thought patterns that you repeat every day today probably repeat tomorrow. And if you don't do something intentional to identify, interrupt, and replace, update, level up the behaviors and thinking patterns that you have right now, you will end up in the exact same place that you are 5 years from now. And so the program really focused on habits and systems and simple science-backed ways to make change stick. And then the rest of the program was really around either practicing the habits or creating a new set of habits that aligned with some change you wanted to make, so that you started acting in a daily way like the person you want to become in the future. And so that's the program that you jumped into. The results have been kind of mind-blowing. And, I think a lot of us, especially when we're seeking to change something about our lives, Teri, we want the change immediately. We want the change to be some shiny, sexy, amazing thing that is going to just, change your life. And the truth is that any change that actually works is typically very boring and tedious, and it requires you to push through the bullshit and the excuses and the fears that have been holding you back for years. And that is not a one and done. It is a daily battle that you are choosing to engage in for the sake of building a life that really creates meaning for you. And so that's what the program was about: the foundation, the fundamentals, and getting people to launch through fear and old habits that are holding them back.
I liked this idea. One of the things, the course was very powerful for me in so many wonderful ways. And I've gone back and, rewatched, many of the live sessions. But one of the things that struck me was this idea of willpower versus skills. Because, we think it's willpower that's going to take us to the change and, in so many different ways and really change our lives. And could you speak a little bit about that? What does that mean?
Yeah. We've all bought into this myth that you have to have discipline. or that you have to have this like mental strength, that you have to, if you're not born being somebody that can push through all the excuses and fears that hold you back, if you can't run 10 miles or get through a Navy SEAL circuit training thing, that somehow you're weak, you're undisciplined, and it's just not true. Most of us have a particular tank for willpower. So, I've got this glass of water right here. And let's just say that this entire glass is your capacity, your energy, your focus and your attention to be able to push yourself to do something. That's basically willpower. Willpower is the ability to will yourself forward, to have your will power your actions and your focus. And the truth is, most of us have a limited capacity for how long we can do that. When you use up all the fuel that's in this cup, you got no more willpower. It's one of the reasons why one of the simple things that people recommend is get rid of do the hard thing in the morning first. That your brain has the most fuel in the tank first thing in the morning. You have the most ability to power through things and focus and push yourself to do things first thing in the morning. And as you put your attention on this task, or you start working on emails, or you start scrolling on social media, or you start running errands, this tank is going to start to drain. Here we go. We're losing a little willpower because I just put focus on something. And so it's one of the reasons why it's so hard to exercise at the end of the day. The tank is empty. It's one of the reasons why it's so hard to work on your passion project at night when you've been working a full-time job during the day. Your tank is empty. And so a lot of us have been relying on willpower alone. And when we have a tank that's depleted or empty, we think we failed. We think, oh, we're not disciplined enough. The truth is, you can develop skills. And one skill that you can develop is that even though the tank feels empty, you can develop the skill to focus for 5 minutes on something you don't feel like doing. Even though your will, your motivation, your inspiration to get to the gym at the end of the day feels empty, that's willpower. You can develop a skill of pushing yourself to do it anyway. And when you realize that any change that you want to make, whether it's learning how to cook healthy, that you have been such an incredible gift in inspiring so many people and helping them through the overwhelm and the intimidation factor of trying to create healthier habits and learn your way around a kitchen. If you didn't grow up learning how to do that, you can develop that skill. You can develop the skill of pushing yourself to exercise every day, even though you don't feel like it. You can develop a skill of saying no. You can develop a skill of understanding the stock market. And when you realize that change is about systems and it's about skills that you practice, it's not about willpower. You can hack willpower. You can hack motivation when you create systems to help you hack it and when you focus on the skills you need to build so that you can take the actions that create the change.
And then what are some of the, let's say, okay, working out is a problem for somebody. What are some of the things that you can do to really hack that skill so that you do it?
Right. Okay. So the skill when it comes to working out consistently is the ability to make yourself do it. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to like it, by the way. Doesn't mean you have to feel motivated. Doesn't mean that you have to enjoy it while you're doing it. It is a skill to push yourself to do something that you don't enjoy. And that's a really important skill to develop in life. Okay. So let's talk first about systems, because I think systems are really important. What is a system? A system is a series of practices or triggers or repeatable behaviors that you put in place to make the thing you need to do easier. In the case of exercising, I'm going to give you a bunch of systems that you can put in place, okay? And this way you don't have to rely on willpower. And you don't have to rely on remembering to do it because you're going to create systems that remind you that you said you were going to exercise. So system number 1, before you go to bed at night, lay out your exercise clothes on the floor of your closet. That is a simple system that is going to help you develop the skill of making yourself exercise. Now, why is this a simple system? Well, because when you walk into your closet in the morning, the last thing you're going to feel like doing is exercising. When you see your yoga tights or your running shorts or your gym clothes lying there on the floor, if you're like me, you're going to be like, I don't want to do this. But having them on the floor triggers you to remember this promise that you made, that this is something that you care about because you want to take care of your body. Pull on the clothes. We're not even exercising yet. Just pull on the clothes. What's another system that you can create? You can set an alarm in your phone to go off. And it can be funny. Stop bitching and procrastinating and get to the gym. Another system that you can create, you can ask a buddy to do this with you and set a date to go for a walk. Another system that you can make, instead of trying to get an hour, you can shrink the amount of time and you can figure out it's 15 minutes of walking or 15 minutes of watching a certain tape in order to get it done. Those simple systems, I lay out my clothes at night. I pull them on no matter how I feel. I meet a friend. I shrink the time. I put an alarm in my phone. Those are all things that help you develop the skill of exercising and moving your body every day. There are other things that you can use as well. Number one, you could use the 5-second rule, which is the mind hack and the hack for motivation that I'm best known for. When you've got those exercise clothes on and you're about to nurse your third cup of coffee as a way to procrastinate getting out the door, use the 5-second rule, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, interrupt yourself, and then move. Push yourself to do what you said you would do. Interrupting bad behavior and pushing yourself, redirecting yourself, reparenting yourself, whatever word you want to do, that's a skill. Using this countdown technique, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's a tool you can use to teach yourself how to get better at pushing through your excuses and making yourself do things.
And why is it especially important for us to, show up for ourselves? Like if we make a commitment, like I want to use my phone less or whatever, just talk a little bit about that importance of just keeping the commitment to ourselves.
Well, here's actually what I'm curious about. What did you learn about why that's important?
Well, sort of my takeaway is just that I keep my commitments to everybody else, but I am often, or I have been in the past, often it comes to Teri last. And one of the things that I just really embraced was putting myself first, having filling my own tank, whether it's, making my bed or drinking my water or doing my red light or getting out and doing my 1,000 steps. Soon after I did the course, I decided at a certain point, okay, I've been really wanting to lose weight. It's been really hard for me, menopausal, going through all this. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to tackle it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out the hack for myself. It's overwhelming, but I'm getting in there and I'm going to learn about it. And I can take my time and become an expert on something I know nothing about. And
amazing.
And I've had some real success. I mean, in the last, it used to be like I would lose like, quarter of a pound, a half pound a week. I've lost, over 15 pounds. And I found some hacks that work for me. So that's one of the things that's like, I really want to make the commitment to myself, and I want to be as good at doing it for myself as others. That's one of the things that I learned, but I think you say it better than I do.
Well, no, not necessarily. So first of all, that's incredible. And I want to unpack what you're talking about. So I think most of us have an experience, especially as women, where we feel and know that we are last on our own lists. That if we tell somebody else we're going to do something, we will be there. But when we promise ourselves we're not going to have a drink tonight, or we're going to get up tomorrow morning early and journal or go for a walk, or we're going to lose weight and stick to some healthy goals because we know we deserve to feel better, we abandon those promises over and over and over again. And one of the things that I've come to learn about myself and that I've come to learn about human behavior in general is the reason why we women do that is because we've been trained to. And we don't even need to go into it, but anybody that was raised in a household in a traditional gender sense who saw behavior modeled for them around being a good daughter or watching your mom tirelessly take care of your grandparents or her partner or her friends, watch her be exhausted, you start to learn that pattern yourself. You start to learn that people like you and they love you more when you behave and when you take care of them. And so we do more and more and more of it. And there's substantial research in every aspect of a woman's life that this is true. It's also true in your job. You probably are the caretaker at work. You bring in the cupcakes for birthdays. You're picking up after the meetings. And we're not being asked to. It's how we've been trained to develop worth. If somebody else is happy with me, then I can be happy with myself. As long as I'm not disappointing somebody, then I'm okay. And what I really had a breakthrough around for myself, and especially as a businesswoman, and learning how to create better deals, ask for my value, learning how to not feel guilty about going after my dreams and how that might impact my kids in some way. I had a huge breakthrough when I realized that the foundation to success and happiness and fulfillment begins with your relationship with yourself. And for women in particular, we have to it's not even retrain ourselves, because we were never taught how to put ourselves first. We have to teach ourselves that it's not only important, it is crucial that you learn how to show up for yourself. And so what does that actually mean? What that means is that when you make a promise, as simple as a promise that says, I'm not going to have a glass of wine tonight, that you develop the skill and you put systems in place that support you in keeping that promise. That when you say you're going to get out of bed in the morning because you know you feel much better if you take a half an hour for yourself, that you get your ass out of bed in the morning. Why? Because you said you would. And so when you develop skills of keeping simple promises to yourself, what you're doing is you're building a habit of putting your word first. You're putting into practice via your behavior that what you say to yourself in terms of what you're promising that you would do, that it matters to you. And you have to do that, because otherwise, if we don't learn how to do that for ourselves, what happens for most women is we get into these issues with relationships where I don't know if you ever had this issue, but geez, Louise, it seems like every relationship I had until I met Chris, and then this was even an issue in the beginning of our marriage, I literally lost my identity. I would take on every musical taste, food taste. I would get absorbed into my boyfriend's friend group. I became defined by whether or not I was in a relationship to someone else. They came first. Their interests came first. And the biggest breakthrough in your life and in your business will happen when you learn how to have that relationship with yourself,
right?
Where you learn how to put your needs first. And until you learn how to do that, and it's practiced by keeping the little promises to yourself, not drinking the glass of wine if that's what you said, exercising or walking the dog if that's what you said, getting out of bed when the alarm rings if that's what you said you would do. And most of us can't even do that, which is why we know we can't count on ourselves to do the big things.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I did, because I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 60-day cleanse. It's going to involve certain, doing certain things. And, one of them is intermittent fasting. But I want to be able to eat in the morning. So that means like I stop eating at 5 o'clock. Well, that cuts out a lot. And, Roy and I normally go to dinner every Friday night. We have a favorite place we go. We sit at the bar, we have a drink. And it's like, I can't do that for 2 months. I simply can't do that and keep the commitment to myself. So,
yeah,
and we made life shifts in order to do that, which is sometimes I think what you need to do in order to be able to make the commitment. One of the things I love you say is that no one is coming. And I there was a quote I read like this, even I was like 18. I remember saying, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. And it's that same, I think it's a, reason that your work resonates so deeply, with me, is that same idea that, we know it, we know no one's coming, but tell me a little about that.
I feel like in various moments of my life when I have driven straight into a wall, self-imposed mostly, and I'm laying there in an enormous breakdown, whether it's grief or behavior that I've engaged in that I deeply regret or any of it. And for me, I always want someone to fix it for me. It's sort of this 1-2 punch of when life blows and you're either in the middle of a breakup or you've gotten fired from a job or you're in major financial crisis or you put on too much fucking weight or whatever it is. You want to point the finger and say this is someone else's fault. And you also simultaneously hope that somebody else is going to fix it. And, I'm really good at lying around in my misery and licking my wounds and, really just suffering. And at some point, you'll get sick of doing that because you'll realize nobody is coming to fix your life. No one. You can spend hours and hours and hours in a therapist's chair blaming your mother or your father for what's wrong with your life. Or you can ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? Which is what you did about the weight loss question. And one of the things that I think is very important about the work that you and I are doing out in the world is that for women in particular, especially women who have taken time out of their careers to raise a family, it is extremely intimidating to get back into the workforce. And it is extremely intimidating to start a business. Especially if you tell yourself a story. I don't understand tech. What are my friends going to think? Like, who am I at the age of 50 to do da 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 da? The fact that you are willing to jump in because no one's coming. If you want to do a lifestyle blog, nobody's going to start it for you. If you're inspired by what Teri does, nobody is going to come and kick you in the ass and make you start, which is what you have to do. If you don't understand social media, but you are inspired by Teri's videos and what she's doing on TikTok, or you love her spindrift stuff that she does, like if that stuff is like sparking something in you, no one's coming. You got what you needed from Teri and you get what you need from her because she's inspiring something to come alive in you. But if you want to go from thinking about it and wishing about it, you're going to have to push yourself to take action because nobody's coming to build that dream, to fight the fights you need to fight, to push through the excuses that you have. It's up to you. Because if you want to create a better life, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to prove it. You deserve to do it, but no one is coming to do it for you. And the second you embrace that it's your responsibility because it's your life. It's your responsibility because those are your dreams. It's your responsibility because this is what is calling to you. And the good news is this: once you have the clarity and the courage to say, I'm interested in being a food blogger, I'm interested in losing weight, I'm interested in launching a podcast, which is my new project, you can reverse engineer anything. I mean, if Teri and I can figure out how to build a digital brand, I think you can too. And there's something called Google, and there are books, and there are workshops you can take. The information is out there. It's your attitude that is keeping you stuck.
What evolved for me happened after I had been a stay-at-home mom. After my kids left, I was with a friend and I was like, I have to do something more and I don't know what it is. And it was like, should I have a book club? Should I take a stripper class? I mean, what should it be? Because I want to create some new energy. And it just came from this conversation and it started something, so it's like, if I could do it, anybody could do it. And it definitely for me was, I was 50 years old, figuring it out.
Well, and I want to unpack that too, because most of you think you have to know what it is. That's not true. If you feel stuck, if you feel like there's more that's meant for you, if you feel like something is missing from your right, or if you feel like something is missing from your life, you're correct. Something is missing. You're correct. There is more that's meant for you. But here's where most of you get it wrong. You don't have to know what it is. So when you said, I didn't know what was missing, I didn't know if I needed a book club or take a stripper's class or whatever the heck it is, the answer is yes, do all those things. Because what's going to happen when you start a book club is you're going to get in community with other people, and that's going to shift the energy, and you're going to bump into something. What happens when you go and you take a lesson on stripping or pole dancing or something that's making something creative come alive with you? You might not become a stripper. You might not become a pole dancer or install one in your own bedroom, or you might. But in doing that, you're shifting the energy. And you're also allowing different input, different people, different experiences to come into your life, which naturally brings more newness into your life. And it's in the exploration, it's in the awakening. That's how you're going to find what's going to make you come alive. 3 years ago, Teri, I never would have said, I know exactly what I need in my life. I need to move to bumfuck nowhere, Vermont, where people go to die and play golf. And, that's what I need to do. No, I just knew that something was missing. I knew that my life as it had been was starting to feel, as amazing as it was, stale. I knew that I needed a change. I didn't have a freaking clue what that change was. And when I look back from where I am right now, and I look back 3 years ago before the pandemic hit, and I could see how stuck I was and how I was yearning for something, but had no idea what it was. I see now why this is exactly what I needed. I needed a space that was more rural and open and quieter so that I could do deeper creative work. I needed to get off of planes, and I'm such a workaholic and I love what I do so much. I have to be 3 hours from a major airport. Otherwise I'll get on a plane every day.
Right.
And so you don't know what you want. You can't possibly know what you want because you only know what you know. And so in order to reinvent yourself, you have to first be aware that there's something stirring within you. And then you have to find the courage to walk toward those things like a book club or anything really. For me, I just started taking workshops rather on podcasting. I started to talk to people about what they were doing in their businesses that was different than mine. And there were a lot of things that I bumped into, Teri, that I'm like, I don't want to do that. Definitely not. But it keeps the spark alive. And that's the important thing. Inside of you, there is this ember. It's almost like a pilot light, like in a furnace. It's not out. It doesn't go out. It is inside of you, and it just needs you to start to fan the flame.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me about the podcast. I know it's twice a week, and I know it's launching right now soon. So tell us about it.
So, it's called the Mel Robbins Podcast. Everybody, and here's another thing, like everybody, thinks that there's got to be some sort of fancy name or you got to get it all right. You're going to figure it out along the way. It's called the Mel Robbins Podcast because when I look at Google searches for my name, it's my name, that is my name misspelled. Then it's who is Mel Robbins married to? And then it's Mel Robbins Podcast. And so I'm like, well, let's just call it what people are asking for.
Yeah.
And so I have been wanting to do this, Teri, since 2008. 2008. So 14 years ago, I used to be a local radio host. I had a call-in radio show. And I left to pursue other things. And as the podcast market started to really heat up in the past 6 to 7 years, I have been beating myself up over the fact that I hadn't jumped in. And I'm sure so many of you that are listening have something that you feel like you're too late to do. And you have all kinds of evidence that you're too late to do it. Teri, what in your life do you feel, or are you currently telling yourself, oh, I probably have missed the window on that sucker?
I feel like I definitely feel like on some things I'm talking about with that, but I'm stretching the limits on it and feeling like, you know what? How old was Julia Childs, Ray Kroc, Winston Churchill? Okay. So I don't have to live by that limited belief.
Awesome.
And And
I
I've
love that.
definitely been stretching that. I did it, my book was very successful and I was like, oh God, now I'm 60. Am I too old to do another? And I was like, no, if I want to do another one, because I'm not ready yet, but if I want to do another one, I can do it.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
is yours, is it twice a week? And who are you going to be talking
Yeah.
to?
So it's twice a week. And basically, everybody always asks me about the format. I wanted an opportunity to get deeply personal and share more of my life as a way to connect with my audience. And so it's not really an interview show. The show is really about what's going on in my life and using the show and the things going on in my life, my kids' lives, my business, stuff going on in the world, although it's not really a hot topics show, to take small moments that are deeply relatable and use it as an opportunity to talk about creating a better life.
I love
And
it.
so whether we're talking about, let's see, one episode that we're doing is, does anyone else feel like they don't have any friends anymore? Why is adult friendship so hard? And moving to a new place. There's a topic for you. And so I'm going to tell you a story about that. One of the first episodes is also about reinvention and how hard it is and how we're constantly reinventing ourselves. Another topic, my son and I are talking about the top 3 things that he's anxious about. He's 17 years old. And so we're going to unpack that. So that's what it's about. It releases every Sunday. And I think Thursday, every Sunday and Thursday is when we're releasing episodes. We're still sorting it out because you and I are taping this just before this goes live. But this is a podcast that is going to be a ritual and an essential part of your week, because the Sunday episodes are going to start your week off and the Thursdays ones are going to help you get through it. And this is not a celebrity podcast. This is a podcast for you, for normal people that are just trying to create a better life. And it's my hope that in sharing more of the struggles that I face on a day-to-day, or the subjects that I'm curious about. My husband and I next week are celebrating our 26th wedding anniversary, and we're going to be doing this MDMA therapy session as part of it. I'm going to share all about it. And then we'll have an expert on to explain why this can be so good for any kind of relationship, whether it's a relationship with your kids or a relationship with a partner. So that's it. It's hard for me to describe what it is, because
Well, you're doing a beautiful job.
Am I? God, well then tell me, what is the show about, please?
I mean, it's
Because I have
about
no
life.
idea what the hell.
It's
Yeah,
about life and inspiring people, living your best life, and you're sharing from your perspective, and then we take it and apply it to our own. I think I love it. I figured it was more of an interview show. So I'm delighted about this. This seems great.
Yeah, I really feel that there's plenty of amazing interview shows, and that I just want a chance to have longer conversations with people about the things that we're all interested in and that we all kind of struggle with. And more importantly, the tools and the strategies that you can use to do something about it. Because on one hand, it's very validating to know that I'm not the only one that feels like adult friendship is hard. And I'm not the only one that feels like everybody else seems to be having more fun than me. But knowing that you're not alone is only one aspect. You got to then be willing to do something about it. And so that's where the tools come in. And, I also think that I'm excited because I feel so excited to learn more. So you said this earlier, that you have this goal to get healthier, to confront your bullshit excuses that you can't wait, or it's menopause. And look, menopause is a real thing. I just got my hormone replacement therapy patch. I'm taking my progesterone. It has changed who I am. I cannot believe the difference that it has made in my life. And yet it's a very real thing when it comes to women, and how hard it can be when your hormones start to change to actually get your body to metabolize and lose the weight instead of holding on to it. And that affects your mood and your your sexual drive and all this shit that women should not have to deal with, but we do. And so I can't remember. Oh, so what you said though is that you push through the excuses, and in figuring out ways, tools, strategies, systems that have helped you, and then sharing them with other people, you're learning and growing. And so I'm excited to grow through this experience. I don't have all the answers. I'm figuring this out in real time. And so you can't do that when you're producing an audiobook. And social media is such snack size, short form content that it serves a purpose to spark something. I want to take it deeper. Resources, tools, stories, question and answer, interesting experts that are researching this stuff, not just people that have a movie or a book that they want you to buy.
I love that. I think it's fantastic. And I'm going to be your first regular listener for sure.
Oh my God, I love you.
So in closing, tell me this, and I love this, and I say it, and it was a gift from you, which is what's meant for you in life will never pass you by.
It's true. You may pass it by, but it will never pass you by. What's meant for you will never pass you by, because you were born with dreams and curiosity and purpose and passion hardwired into your DNA. I believe when you look at the mathematics and the science that proves that you are in a class of one, you are the only you that will ever walk the earth. You are the only you that has ever walked the earth, and whoever will. That there will be nobody ever born who has your irises, your fingerprints, your laugh, your unique set of experiences, and all of the beautiful interests, curiosities, impulses, and passions that make you you. And the things that you're curious about, or the people that you're jealous of, or the experiences that you long for or are drawn to, there's a reason why you have those intense emotional pulls and longings. And also there's a reason why there are things that repel you. That is that internal compass inside of you trying to guide you. When you're drawn towards something, this internal compass that is hardwired into your DNA. And if you think about a compass works on magnetic energy, right? A compass always points north because it is tied to the poles inside the earth that create this magnetic energy. And that's what a compass is reading. That's why a compass never lies when it's pointing north. You also run on magnetic energy. Your nervous system, your heart, and your brain are all hardwired, and to read magnetic energy. And I can give you a very anecdotal piece of evidence. Have you ever walked into a room and there's a person in the room whose energy just makes you go ick?
Yep.
That's your compass saying, turn away. True north for you, and based on your DNA, is in the opposite direction. You've also had the experience where you walk into a room and you immediately feel drawn towards somebody you've never met. That's your compass aligning with something that's meant for you. And there's even cooler science around this. Like, let's talk about, when you talk about you having this internal compass and you as a unique human being reading the magnetic energy around you, what's meant for you aligns with that magnetic energy. What's meant for you calls to you. What's not meant for you repels you. And so I can give you this really interesting piece of science. So if somebody has a heart attack and you have to give them a defibrillator to restart the heart, what are we actually doing with the defibrillator? We're sending an electric shock to the heart so that energetically it starts beating again. They have been able to measure a magnetic field around human beings that comes from your heart that's about 3 feet long, extending from your body. And so when I say that what's meant for you will never pass you by, it's because what's meant for you is aligned with you energetically. It's why your heart knows before your mind is willing to accept. For years, I've come to Vermont, and the second we pull into the state, I feel my whole body exhale. My heart knew what was in alignment with my true nature. My brain's like, no, 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 no. And so that's why I say what's meant for you will never pass you by. But you may pass it by if you stay too much up here in fear and overthinking and old habits. You got to drop down into the center and get more present to what's trying to pull you forward. And so back to something that you said earlier, Teri. You knew after raising your kids something was missing. That is your inner compass telling you that moving in the same direction is not your true north. It's no longer aligned with who you are energetically. When you start to feel all this inspiration, is it a book club? Is it taking a pole dancing class? What is it? Anything that's trying to pull you toward it is something to explore, because that's your compass trying to get you to move in the direction of what's meant for you.
I love that. Well, this has been so exciting. And what's the best is we can just continue on with your podcast, these same lessons. So many people, I shared on the stories, they saw me doing launch. People contact me all the time and say, that thing you're doing, how could I do that? What could I do? So it'll be fun to be able to tell people this is an extension of it. And this will be a great way, some touch points for the week, which we all need. So thank you so much. You make a difference in the world. You've made a difference in mine. Stephanie and I, we had such a great time doing the group together, met a lot of new people. But it was good for me. It was good for me in so many ways. It was a difficult period. And yet I birthed into a whole nother thing, which has been really, really wonderful. So it's certainly a part of that. So thank you for what you do. And people should come find you on Instagram, because you are a hoot to follow.
Well, thank you. I have one question for you.
Yep.
So if we were to fast forward a couple years,
yep,
what are we going to see Teri doing?
Oh my God, I don't know what we're going to see Teri doing. If anyone had told me that I was going to become a cookbook author and a blogger and they have a pottery business and have a podcast, I wouldn't have believed them. But I definitely want my life to include spending time with my partner, traveling, enjoying my life, and not Teri amped up, but definitely Teri amped back, and just getting into that wherever that takes me. So definitely less. I'll be doing less.
Awesome. And having more out of your life.
Having more. Yeah, that's exactly
I love
right.
it. Well, keep doing what you're doing, because you're inspiring so many people.
Thanks so much. What a pleasure.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.